Do you ever feel like a storm is on the way? That you are on a raft at sea, clutching to the sides? It's an inflatable raft. You are storm-tossed. There's lightning overhead. Clouds are gathering. There's a downpour. Imminent downpour. There's no port in sight. You're hungry. You're dehydrated. All you want is something to make you feel secure. Something to make you feel safe. Something that will take you to the other shore. Sometimes I feel so cut adrift at sea that I just want an ideology. Any ideology will do. The ideology really only needs to tell me what to think. Seriously, that's it. I mean, because the landscape of the mind is so chaotic, I just need an ideology to get me through it. Right? So it could be socialism, it could be Christianity, any set of perspectives that can tell me how to think about the world. Now, necessarily, this set of perspectives will include certain views and marginalize other views. It will exclude other views. But it doesn't really matter because I am in a storm right now. I don't even know where the nearest landmass might happen to be. I just want an ideology to save me. Right? Ideologies take many forms. Some people may not even think of them as ideologies. Right? Like the United States of America. It could be considered an ideology in the sense of Americanism or patriotism toward the United States. Or what's called statism. That's an ideology, which is the nation state is of paramount concern and of preeminent importance. And the whole mentality of being a citizen of a nation state orients your perspectives, right? And so it's an ideology that is a raft when you are lost at sea. There's no ship in sight. There's nothing that can save you. And all of a sudden, the sea vanishes and you're on dry land because you've adopted an ideology to tell you what to think. And right when you know what to think, because you've been told what to think, dry land appears. So the ideology is dry land. Of course, part of us really shrinks from the idea of needing an ideology, cringes at the very notion that we would want some other system of perspectives to tell us what to think, and we'll find a way to contrive a back door of plausibility, of acceptability when it comes to an ideology. We'll justify our own felt necessity in adopting a set of perspectives that tells us how to think. It's not only that an ideology tells us how to think, an ideology is our thinking. Right? It's basically an operating system, a software. An ideology is a software. It completely defines the parameters of what's possible, what's legitimate, what's truthful. Right? Now, some may want to short circuit this whole ideological contraption by adopting multiple ideologies and sifting through them in order to cover as much data as possible, right? To absorb as many perspectives. But then you just get into the whole issue of whether the mind itself is inherently ideological and whether the mind itself is ideology itself. And this is where mysticism proper can come in and subvert the entire paradigm of the mind as ideology. And then you have to subvert that mysticism. And then you're like, well, wait a minute, is subversion an ideology itself? What is subverting what? Right? One of the ways to deal with this constant omnipresence of ideology is to accept it wholeheartedly. Rejecting ideology itself might be an ideology. Is there a way out? Is there a way out? To find oneself enclosed, is that not ideological as well? When we adopt the perspective of anti-ideology, we get certain results. Causation is always at play. If you're not fallen, you don't need to be saved. But why do I need an ideology? Is it possible for all of my ideologies to be transparent to me? Can we say that there are some things that are definitively not ideological, such as the desire for transparency, such as the desire for freedom, liberation? What is ideology? Maybe ideology can be narrowly but properly defined as any system of perspectives that are imported by an individual that control that individual for the sake of the people who have propagated the ideology. So it's a set of perspectives that essentially controls the individual and makes them subservient to a network of values and beliefs that actually exploit the individual and don't seek to actualize the individual, rather to subordinate that individual so as to work as a cog in a machine, right? As one part in a whole, a collectivist entity that simply sponges off that individual parasitically, dominates them, exploits them, controls them. And that's the nature of the operating system known as ideology. And anything that seeks to break through that, as long as it serves the individual, is non-ideological, is anti-ideological. So we say that whatever the individual is doing to assert his or her freedom vis-a-vis a collectivist orientation is non-ideological. And anything that seeks to subordinate that individual to the collectivist orientation is ideological. Can we say that? Otherwise, everything is ideological, and we will never, ever find dry land. Oh, and you see that I've gone topsy-turvy now. Formerly, dry land was the pseudo-answer to being adrift at sea. And now we say the non-ideological orientation itself is dry land. Am I trying to subordinate you now with my clever oratory, my ornate rhetoric? Do you feel free? Or do you feel confounded? Do you feel like I'm trying to exploit you, control you, subordinate you? What do you feel right now? Do you feel these certain popping moments in your mind where you start to objectify the ideological orientation that subsumed you under an agenda that has nothing to do with your welfare, but rather exploits you as a small part in a larger whole that cares nothing for you as an individual? Why do you trust that being an individual is somehow sinful, egoic, egotistical, selfish, fundamentally incorrect? Why must you feel that unless you believe in a system that's always working for the larger whole, that unless you believe in that, you are somehow deviant, abnormal, even pathological? Why don't we believe in the individual anymore? Why has the individual been ideologically pathologized? Why do I have to feel guilty if I assert my desire as an individual who will not capitulate to any collectivist force, who refuses, who is defiant, who is iconoclastic, who is rebellious? Why am I such a problem? Why do you distrust me? And why do you trust a collectivist system that is built by an ideological infrastructure to keep you in place and obedient, following authority, the rules? Why? Why is the person who doesn't follow the rules, who doesn't follow the laws, supposed to be an outcast, out of the cast? What are the ideologies that control our minds invisibly? The ideologies that are completely scentless. The ideologies that determine how you watch this video and interpret its meaning. Is there a way to live non-ideologically, in the sense that you're not always subscribing to a collectivist program that orients you toward a goal outside of yourself that's been created outside of you, engineered by your media, by your education, by your religion, by your government? Is it possible to truly be an individual? Is it? And not just some kind of atomized, alienated, nihilistic entity that doesn't cooperate with anything and is anti-value, antinomian, anti-cultural, anti-social. No, I'm not talking about that. Already, notice the pejorative descriptions that come in and surround the individual as if he's anti all that's good, beautiful, and true. Do you notice how your sense of autonomy is always already hijacked by an ideology that would seek to export your intrinsic individuality and integrate that intrinsic individuality into a larger whole, which you would then serve? Have you noticed that? It's everywhere. Is it even possible to be an individual? And would you even dare to be so? Would you be afraid that you'd be locked up just for being an individual? Ultimately, 100 years from now, maybe that will be the case. that we will have so distrusted individuals that the moment someone asserts their individuality, they become a problem. There's some kind of little report card that monitors whether they in fact have become too individual, whether they are in violation of the prescribed parameters. You think I'm being silly, don't you? You think that this is worthy of simple dystopian sci-fi novels and the great TV series that are on TV. But is it so strange? Are you aware of the ideologies inside you now that define your mind, that have become your psyche, that tell you what to think, that are your thinking? Have you any clue? Is there any way that you could analytically objectify them, put them in front of you, and say, whoa, look at these operating systems defining my reality for me? Could you do that right now? Does the inquiry even make sense? If you can't do that, if you don't even know where to begin, if the idea confuses, confounds, perplexes, and disorients and discombobulates you, then you may not have enough of a taste of individuality. Right? Individuality, a priori, is always already a subversion of ideology. Individuality is always already, a priori, a subversion of any and all collectivist orientations, whether it be socialism, corporatism, communism, fascism, Christianity, Islam, Judaism. Now you may think that you can participate in all those things as individuals, except you'll notice you have to adopt a value system that's being exported by authority figures and imported by you, and then you will use that to interpret, analyze, define everything around you. Now, the question is, will you do that transparently? Will you know that this is an act of creation? Will you know that this is an artistic expression of mental karma as it comes into you and exits you and permeates the environment? Or will you do this unconsciously with no self-transparency? Will you do it automatically and not as an individual, but rather as an ideological machine that's simply obeying the input-output signals of an operating system that really doesn't give a shit about you?